guys, happy Sunday. Cheryl and I are going to be filling in for Christiana today for February 4, and we have a very exciting topic, which is color work. I think both Cheryl and I are huge color work fans, so we're going to talk about 4 different types of color work today and sort of discuss some of the products we have that work really well for those different types of color work. We're each going to do a half, and feel free to drop any questions or comments you have below, and we'll do our best to answer them. So anyway, we're going to get started with stranded color work, and as Cheryl was pointing out, it's really good to think about these as sort of a more general idea of stranded color work. So a lot of people use the term fair isle. Fair isle, hey Gloria, is actually in reference to a specific island that's part of the Shetland Islands called Fair Isle, which is where that style came from. But stranded color work is a more generic term that refers to all the different regional types of color work that use that methodology. So the first example I'm going to talk about is the Lisbeth jacket, and this is a really beautiful cardigan, and I think Gail made this one. And so one of the ways you can sort of ascertain if something is a stranded pattern or garment is by looking at the inside, and you will see that there are floats. And so in stranded color work, you're holding one or more colors behind the other colors and using them generally 2 at a time. Occasionally on more complex patterns, you might have 3 or 4 colors per row, but the traditional method is 2 colors per row. And you'll see in a really beautifully done piece stranded color work like this one, it almost looks not the same, but it's like another pattern on the inside. So this beautiful sweater is made with one of the most lovely yarns I think we have in the shop, which is the Juniper Moon Patagonia. This is an organic merino, and it's a woolen spun yarn. It's sport weight. It's at 100% wool. You get a pretty good put up. It's 382 yards per hank. They're $15.99 each, and I just brought out 3 colors that I think would look really nice together in a sweater. Ivory perhaps as your main color, and then the mahogany and this is called Chavotte together as perhaps your contrast colors. But it's a nice, what we tend to use the term sticky yarn. So in a sweater like this, that's a cardigan, you may have to do something called steeking, which is essentially, we've had classes on this, where generally speaking, when you're going to do stranded color work, you're going to knit in the round, and with the steek, you add some sort of like extra stitches that you're going to cut through. Actually, I know it scares some people, but when you have a nice sticky yarn, usually you don't have to reinforce it before you cut the steek, and then you can, of course, have your 2 halves, put your button band on, and continue to finish your cardigan. So if you're looking for a great yarn for a stranded color work pattern, definitely check out the Patagonia, especially for something like steeking. Another great option for this type of color work is, something like a LOPEY, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the full Icelandic word, but I think it's like LOPEY pesa, the traditional Icelandic sweaters. And this is a cardigan version. It's also Gail's. It's also stranded color work, as you can see. And this is made using the traditional LOPEY yarn, which we have the Let LOPEY, which is the Aran weight version of that yarn. These are 100% Icelandic wool, made in Iceland from the Icelandic sheep, and these are $6.99 each, and they give you 109 yards. And we have a nice selection of colors. I grabbed 3 that I really like together. This is the sort of aqua color. They only have numbers for the colors. Gray, and this is probably one of my favorite colors. It's a black, but it has a bunch of other shades mixed in, so when you put it with other things, it just picks up all the other colors. Like this one has purple and some yellow and some blue in it. It's very cool. So this is a great option for sweaters.
I have a question.
Yes, and Cheryl has a question.
The Let LOPEY is a single ply yarn, is that correct?
It is, yeah. The Let LOPEY is a single ply yarn, and it has a relatively low twist. But it's, again, a pretty sticky yarn, so good for steeking as well. Christiana also wanted us to mention the SPEEDY SELBU mittens. This is a class we offer regularly, and these were made by Christy Nielsen. But this is a traditional Nordic type of stranded color work, and it's the same thing. You have the color work, the strands on the inside of the garment, in this case the gloves, and they're very cool. You have this beautiful design on the front and this sort of more checkerboard design on the inside of the glove. LOPEY is a great option for these types of gloves, and another good option is the Lana Loft from Brown Sheep Company. This is a worsted weight single ply yarn. It is 100% wool, and it is non-superwash. And we have a really nice selection of colors. I quite like this sort of rosy color and the gray together. These are $12.99 each, so they're pretty economical if you want to just try it like a smaller pattern. And as I said, these are also a single ply yarn. And finally, our other great option for color work is the shepherd's wool, and this is no longer available. They're no longer selling wholesale, but we do have some left. It's a really, really wonderful, again, non-superwash worsted weight yarn. These have 250 yards per pink, and they are $15.95 each. We do have, as I said, some left. I quite like this mint green and black combination together. But if you were thinking about trying out some color work, stranded color work, this is a great option. And this is a more traditional worsted spun plied multi-ply yarn, so a bit smoother hand. And we do, as I said, have classes quite regularly on a number of different types of stranded color work. The one that we have coming up soonest are the autumn fade mittens with Christy. We have a few kits left, so think about that class. They're really beautiful mittens, and the whole idea is that make mittens now in this early summer, and then you'll have them ready for the fall when it starts getting pretty chilly here. So something to consider. The next type of color work that I'm going to talk about is mosaic, also known as slip stitch color work. And this to me is what I call like my therapy knitting. I love slip stitch and mosaic patterns for doing something that's like pretty simple without being stressful, that produces a really cool result. So I'm sorry about the air. It's going to, Cheryl kind of just turned it off, so it'll go off shortly. So probably one of the most popular patterns that we have kits for in the shop with mosaic color work is the NIGHTSHIFT shawl by Andrea Valerie, also known as Drea Renee Knits. And this is just a really, really beautiful sort of asymmetrical triangular shawl. If you are new to color work and you're a little bit afraid, never fear. I have made the hat version of this, and it is super simple. Really all you're doing is knitting, purling, and slipping stitches, which means you're just not really doing anything. So it's not difficult. This one does have, I believe, an applied I-cord edge, or not applied, but I-cord in edge as you go, which again, it's not as hard as it sounds. But it's a really, really, really cool pattern. It was originally designed for a sport weight yarn, but it's been made in sort of every weight at this point. This particular exemplar that I have here is made with the Norogashi, which is a DK weight cotton blend yarn, and you can still see it's very drapey. We have some kits for this pattern from two different sort of sources. One are kits we've made ourselves using the Norogashi, and we have a number of different color options. I think this one is quite lovely. This ball has black and gray, teal, and a little bit of navy blue in it. And then the other one is yellow, a little bit of grayish yellow, and a more seafoam green. So you get a really nice mix of colors, but also blend together. Another color option we have is the green, black, and teal, sort of seafoam tones, and then this one has purple, pink, and blue, a little bit of green. And these kits are $104.99. They do include the pattern, and because the Norogashi comes with such a big put-up, you only need the 2 skeins to do the whole shawl. We also have NIGHTSHIFT kits from Cat Mountain Fiber Arts, who is a really, really wonderful local yarn maker, dyer, pattern designer. And many of you might know her for her fusion kits, which we have which go with her patterns, but she also hand dyes yarn, especially for Andrea Maury's patterns. So the one that we have left right now is this beautiful set of purple tones, and I'm trying to make sure it's visible without too much glare, but it's really nice because it has sort of a panoply of cooler tone, more mauvey purples, as well as more true purples, through almost like a burgundy. And this way you get a pretty, it's going to be a little bit less, I'm not sure what to use, not chaotic, but maybe a little bit less colorful than if you do it with something like Noro, but it will still have a big mix of colors. And these ones retail for $110.25. I also totally forgot, and I apologize, Cheryl so wonderfully brought a Fair Isle, is it Fair Isle? Or is it Fair Isle?
Gift bag, Feral gift bag.
Fair Isle gift bag that she's working on, and she teaches this class usually in the winter time, around November, December.
We're gonna pop one out in July for Christmas.
And we're gonna have one in July for Christmas
later
in
July. It's not up yet.
But this is such a beautiful pattern, and I love that it has both sort of the more, I don't know, I'm not saying floral, but you know, there's more white to blue ratio, and then areas where there's more blue to white ratio, or whatever colors you're choosing, just so you get sort of the effect of both tones. And this is Malabrigo, right? Rios?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, Rios is just, you know, Rios. So this is definitely a great class to consider. It's really cool, of course, to make things for people, you know, like any sort of hand-knit gift is, I think, appreciated by the good ones. But you could even knit the bag that you put the gift in as an additional, you know, additionally. So just something to consider coming up for July. And then the last thing for Mosaic is this cowl, which is called the Compania cowl. I love this. I think I'm the only person that loves this. I just think this color combination is fabulous. This is made using the Manos del Uruguay Alegria, which is a fingering weight yarn. And I don't know, this just makes me happy. It reminds me of like Spanish day on the beach, or maybe the Southwest. I don't know. I really love it. But this is a great pattern, and again, you have this effect, especially from far away, with mosaic knitting, that can sometimes look like stranded knitting, but is much easier to do because you're only working with one color per row, and then the other color is being slipped. And so in this case, especially once it's blocked, you know, you might have stitches that are going to be a tiny bit longer because they extend between over one row, but from a distance, unless someone is like deeply examining what you've made, you really don't get that effect at all. And instead, you just get this beautiful colorwork effect. As I said, I love this teal, and so I went and grabbed that, but I think if you wanted a slightly more subdued version of this, this beautiful sort of warm brown goes really well with the teal. And these Alegria yarns retail for $31.99 each, and I believe that you just need one of each color to make this cowl. And it's a pretty good sized cowl. I'm not going to put it on because it's very warm in here, especially without the air conditioning. But as you can see, it's kind of would sit around your neck, and you would cover, you know, most of your chest, and possibly even down to your past your belly if you were a bit shorter than I am. So it's quite a warm sort of garment option. So anyhow, I hope if anyone has any questions about mosaics / slip stitch knitting or stranded colorwork, you can put them in the chat, and I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl, who's going to talk to us about intarsia and double knitting.
Good afternoon. Hey everybody who's joined us, welcome. Who do we have? Trish, Michelle, Rachel, Margaret, Luann. That's the names I'm seeing up there. Hey, write questions. Hannah's looking to Facebook over there. If you have questions about anything she just mentioned, or you have questions as I go through the next two methods, then please write them into comments, and Hannah will get right after it. And so Sunday afternoon, Fiber at 4. This is a new thing for me. We're not usually here on Sundays so much. We miss Christiana. She does a great job at this, but we're happy to fill in as well. So intarsia knitting is a whole another technique. So I think most of you who are able to come into the shop have seen this heart blanket. Gail knit this too. Gail knits a lot, doesn't she? Well, we all knit a lot, but Gail, wow, she can produce some things. This she found, I think, last winter or the winter before, to be very soothing knitting. You know, during the pandemic, you know, having a blanket to hug ourselves, each other, your family, was really a great thing. And this, an intarsia blanket like this, it's 1 square at a time. So it's not too overwhelming because you just knit 1 square at a time and then you put them all together and you have a beautiful piece like this. This heart blanket is from Noro. It has come in a kit before. It is not available. So don't get your heart set on this heart blanket. No pun intended. But we have a kit for the star blanket, which is just as beautiful. So it's got everything you need, background color, all the different game colors for all the different stars on this pattern. This is all out of Silk Garden, which Silk Garden is a worsted weight yarn, has a silk fiber. I use